I'm joined by Mr. Sarwant Singh, Global Head of Automotive at Frost & Sullivan. Welcome to ETAuto. A lot of change happening in India. Indian automotive industry is totally ready for the mega shift that is going to happen in terms of emission norm, in terms of technology upgradation, in terms of safety. You have been tracking the global market. How has been the scenario when people, leapfrogged in terms of technology and emission in other markets? And now what kind of impact or changing scenario you look at India when it is being implemented in the next few years?
There's a big change happening in the automotive industry globally. We've had a record year, 92 million plus cars sold globally. We're seeing rapid change in technology, much more digitization coming in, electrification of the powertrain coming in. Legislation is becoming a lot more stricter. Thanks to the Volkswagen Dieselgate scandal, we are seeing much more aggressive shift from OEMs to bring in alternative fuel vehicles. I think we're seeing similar changes in India. We are seeing the government becoming a lot more aggressive on emissions and regulations. As we know, we will see a big shift from BS4 to BS6. That will have a huge profound impact on the Indian automotive industry. Diesel engines will maybe become 15 to 20% more expensive than they are currently today. We will also see a lot more electrification in the future. I think India will start seeing mild and electric hybrid technology coming in. Electric technology will become much more cheaper as battery prices fall. This year we expect battery prices to reach $200 per kilowatt hour. So that makes it a lot more affordable in cars. And also we'll see a lot more digitization of the auto industry. The car itself, but also the whole concept of digital retailing, plus also development of IoT platforms in cars.
How do you look at, electronic content is also increasing a lot in car. In India also it is pacing up, but not to that level. In going forward, what kind of electronic content do you expect to be in cars?
Yeah, electronics content will go up, software content of the vehicles will go up. As the cars need to hit next generation emission regulations, you need a lot more electronics in vehicle. You need a lot more efficiency in the vehicle itself. So absolutely, we will see large growth on it.
If you can put a value in value term where it would be, the electronic and software put together, what kind of value size would be for the automotive industry, especially in terms of this?
I need to check on that with you.
Okay, so
yeah. But just to give you an idea roughly, in a Daimler upstream car, you have anywhere between 60 to 70 ECUs.
For Indian auto component manufacturer, if you can tell us, because you have tracked the global market when it was changing. Now India is on the verge of major change. So what kind of preparedness do you expect these component makers, suppliers should have to be ready for that change?
I think the Indian component supplier industry, especially if you look at tier 2, tier 3 industry, is very much geared towards hard parts, which is what I call mechanical, hydraulic parts. As we see the shift towards electronics, software, sensors, I think there's a huge opportunity for Indian auto suppliers to gain a momentum in that market. So get into more sensors, get into mechatronics, get into more software and electronics development, chip development, sensors integration, making electric power packs. So, for example, with the huge shift towards electric steering systems, one can integrate the electric motor, the electronics, the ECUs and the software into one whole mega unit. I think that's where the opportunity is, and that's where the Indian component industry needs to focus on going forward.
Going back to the hottest topic around right now is diesel. Diesel is almost being demonetized. It's considered the biggest evil right now, looking at the environment conditions. In India, you see the price gap between diesel and petrol shrinking. That has also had impact. Now you see 60-40 ratio of petrol versus diesel. Where do you look at this, combination stopping? Do you see it 80-20, or what is your prediction for petrol versus diesel vehicles in passenger category especially?
I come from Europe. We have seen a huge growth of diesel from somewhere around 28-30% in the early 2000s to almost going over 50%. But we are now seeing the same trend with the much more strictness of emission regulations, lot higher cost of putting diesel technology. In Europe, it can cost 2,000 to 3,000 euros extra to pay for diesel engine. We've seen the market share shrinking. What is also happening, the cities globally, including as we've seen in Delhi, they're getting a lot more stricter with particulate matter. That is the next area of big focus, which is a big negative with diesel engines. So I think what we're going to see is diesel is going to be under pressure. And with the BS6 regulations coming in, like I mentioned, the prices will go up. So I personally, and we believe diesel share will fall, and OEMs will release a lot more gasoline engines. We've seen companies like Mahindra very focused on diesel SUV, now also having gasoline engines. So I believe share will come down.
India is a very cost competitive market. What kind of cost implication do you look at in terms of rise in cost after BS6 is implemented. So if you can tell us the average cost increase on vehicles.
We're looking at 15 to 20%. A typical 10 lakh car could be 12 lakh car, and that is a challenge. Is the customer ready to pay for it? Who will bear the cost? Will the OEM have to subsidize some of the cost? Are there some low cost technologies? Absolutely a challenge, including, are the oil companies ready with the right fuel for BS6? I think it will be in quite a bit of uncertainty over the next few months.
Coming back to electric vehicle, which is the next level of technology that is being adopted in Europe, China, you see that is, picking up a lot faster compared to India. India becomes a very cost factor, becomes very important. Of course, the lithium-ion batteries are very costly. Is there some trend, some research that will help bring down the cost of lithium-ion batteries that could become, practical for Indian consumer to own electric vehicles?
Absolutely. We've seen huge growth in electric vehicles last year, especially in China. Cities like Beijing, you cannot get a license to operate a vehicle unless you have an electric vehicle, for example, or you go through the auction process. This year, we expect record numbers of electric vehicle sales globally. It will jump from somewhere like 700,000 cars sold last year to about 1 million possibly this year. We also expect battery prices to become a lot more aggressive. We expect this year battery prices to come down around $200 per kilowatt hour. At the moment, they're around $250. It is expected that in the next few years, the battery chemistry might change. And battery prices around the time frame 2022 might come down to $100 per kilowatt hour. The moment they come below $100 per kilowatt hours and below, they become a lot more competitive with IC engines. If you look at the total cost of ownership, you are competing with the IC engine. So I think it's very promising for India. It's a solution that we need in India, especially in cities like Delhi. And we will see a lot more aggressive growth on electrification, right from mild full hybrids to 100% battery electric vehicles in the next few years.
Taking view of all these, changes that happening globally in India as well, do you think the Indian automotive industry's story that India was one of the fastest growing automobile markets in terms of production, in terms of sales, do you think that is going to continue? Or you see some kind of roadblock for these 2-3 years that is we are seeing?
You just need to compare India and China. China is what, a 23 million vehicle market. India compared to is nowhere near that. If you look at the average vehicle per 1,000 inhabitants, very low in India. I think the challenge in India is a little bit how can we push the GDP above 7%. I think the moment the GDP starts growing above 7%, I think car sales will have an impact. So I expect the Indian car industry to continue to grow. It's been a bit slow last few months because of demonetization, but I think it'll come back much faster. So our hope is that India will continue to grow over the next few years. Last year, India's car industry growth was the best in the world, even better than China.
Thank you so much for talking.
Thank you.